I usually do these videos when we're checking out a game that's newer on the channel every month. For the first few months, we'll kind of do a check-in, and I'll just talk about my thoughts on the state of the game and what's been going on and the direction everything is headed. And I thought it might be kind of fun to do it for Element Fission. So we're about a month in. I've got 3 days left on my subscribe pack. And I think I started playing on day 1 or 2 and bought the pack on day 1 or 2. So it's been out for about a month now. I am having a blast with it. I'm having a really good time with it. I think that a lot of what they're doing is the right thing. It's very clear what's going on here is you have someone who was a longtime Summoners War player who is trying to make, I think, the game that they wanted Summoners War to be, which can be a good blueprint for success. I always think about Stardew Valley was made because Concerned Ape loved Harvest Moon, but had a lot of thoughts on what Harvest Moon should have been. So he made the game he thought Harvest Moon should have been. And I think Stardew Valley, whether you like the genre or not, I think objectively it's one of the best games ever made. I think it is such a well-made, well-put-together game. There's so much attention to detail and like care, and you could tell he loved the game he was making. So I think that there's a lot of potential here. I like most of what the developers are doing a lot in this game. I kind of see the vision, and we have heard that while it's very similar to Summoner's War in a lot of ways right now, over time they plan to deviate pretty heavily from the Summoner's War blueprint that's been laid out, which I think is great. I think over the years you've had a lot of games come out and followed the blueprint, and it can be a fine line, right? You don't want to follow it too closely, but you don't want to go too far away from it and make it so unfamiliar nobody recognizes anything in it. So I think they're doing a good job. There's a couple small notes, like we talked about the Tree Popo Rider, for example. Actually, someone said, yeah, Tailwind. I feel like you probably should have named that something else, but it's minor stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, I think the progression arc is fantastic. I really do. I think the progression arc feels very smooth and reasonable. The missions, I have a couple issues with some of the missions. I think there's a couple in here that kind of feel like blatant time gates. I think the one where you have to collect 5 summons from your weekly guild rewards is ridiculous. I got stuck on that one for a week, and I even saved them. I saved them in my inbox because I figured that it was going to be like that. So I didn't claim my summons until after I got to that mission, and it didn't even count them. So like it has to be the moment that they're given to the account from weekly tally, which means I had to sit for a week and make no progress in missions. I think that's silly. I don't understand why that would be necessary at all. And there's been a lot of people on my Discord that have had similar situations with like their arena and guild. There's just a couple weird time gates in the missions that I don't love. But again, minor stuff. We've got one semi-big issue that we're going to get to shortly, but again, for the most part, I think there's plenty of content to do. I liked the fact that as actively as I'm playing and as far in the game as I am, there's still content I haven't really even made my way to yet. I don't think I've done one single fight in here because I just haven't had the capacity to do it. I'm trying to, maybe if I wasn't a content creator, I would have been able to do it by now, but I'm trying to do all the things that I'm trying to do for my account, and I'm trying to do all the things that I'm trying to do to make content, right? All the extra units that I'm building and the time I'm spending in the dungeons trying to make free-to-play teams. We've got a free-to-play team for all 4 of these. I'm working on one for Anon. I actually got my speed team sorted in here before I got my free-to-play team sorted. So I'm trying a few different things in here. I can't really get anything happening reliably yet, but we're working on it. So be on the lookout for that soon. And then I'll go back and I'll probably do videos on all the speed teams that I'm running in the dungeons. But yeah, I think the progression here makes sense. I think this is laid out pretty nicely. I think they give you all the tools you need to succeed for Boxing Club fairly easily. If you get lucky and pull a Nenrat and or Bookworm, you can speed run it fairly early. I think that's pretty nice. The campaign is pretty fun, actually kind of challenging at a certain point. Briefly, until you pull something that makes it a little bit more trivial, but pretty fun there. I'm enjoying PvP pretty well. I just think there's a lot to do. I think we probably even could have done without some of it. I probably could do without territory war right now. I don't have a lot of space in my brain for territory war at the moment, but again, plenty to do. Plenty to do. Lots of good content. For the most part, it feels pretty balanced. It all feels fairly approachable in most cases. I think that the units are interesting. I'm excited to see them continue to add more units. I've asked them about, like, is it just going to be a thing where we get a Nat 5 banner every few weeks, or do they have plans to add 3-star and 4-stars on a regular basis as well? Sounds like they have plans to add 3-stars and 4-stars regularly, as well as 5-stars. So that's something I always really appreciate. I think a lot of games come out with really strong starts, really strong rosters for all of their rarities, and so many of them just abandon everything that's not a Nat 5, and that's always confused me so much. King Arthur did it. King Arthur came out with such an interesting roster of rares, and then just stopped adding them. Like, they were really good at designing rares, and then they just never added one. They never added a single one. So many games have done that. It baffles me. It's so weird that you would stop expanding your game on that level. That's such an important part of the Summoner's War blueprint, in my opinion, and so many developers overlook it. I guess because the Nat 5s are the money makers, but like, I guess, you see what it does to you. You'll make a little bit of money for a while, but how many of the games that do that are we still talking about? Summoner's War is still going strong. Summoner's War is gearing up for its 11th anniversary, and plenty of people are still playing it. So there's something to be said for not just adding a new Nat 5 every couple weeks. You know what I mean? So I hope that they will. I hope that they understand that. That's really it. I hope that they have a good understanding of it. And based on everything else they've done in the game, I think they will. They seem to have a pretty good understanding of a lot of what will make a game successful. So I wouldn't hate seeing some sort of permanent fusion system like Summoner's War had being added to the game. Maybe some Nat 5s that you could work for on a longer term basis, and then a few 4-stars. And that kind of brings me to my biggest issue with the game currently. And that is the Tree Gunslinger. The Tree Gunslinger, if you have him, you know how good he is for the water bosses in the Abyss. If you don't have him, you are probably not doing the water bosses in the Abyss successfully. Because he almost... He's borderline mandatory for it. To have triple S teams, to have successful teams, he's borderline mandatory for it. Now, if we go in here and look at the teams, there's one team in here, and all 3 bosses, all 3 water bosses, in all of the tabs, there's one team that is not using him for a triple S, which I think is pretty impressive, honestly. They do, however, have Water Nurse, who has an insane attack lead. She's borderline mandatory for Scavenger, even with Tree Gunslinger, but that's a different conversation. In all the tabs, on all the water bosses, Tree Gunslinger is in every team. He is ridiculous for this content. And the content's like tuned in such a way that if you don't burst it down the way that Tree Gunslinger can, you are gonna really struggle to have success in here. So I can't see all the triple S teams, right? You can only see, I think it shows you like 10 of them. If there are a number of you out there running Abyss triple S teams that don't have Tree Gunslinger in it, I would be very interested to hear about it. But all I really ever hear in the conversation is people that don't have him that just can't find any success in the Abyss. And I don't like that. I've never liked that in these games. When any content feels locked behind having a certain champion, when any content that is not PvP, right? PvP, that's kind of hard to get around. If you want to be a very high level PvP player, in most cases, you're going to have to either whale out or have played the game for such a long time that you may as well have whaled out. You know what I mean? But for PvE stuff, to just be successful in content, I don't think that it's... I don't like it when it feels locked behind having a certain unit. If speed runs are locked behind certain Nat 4s that you have to get lucky enough to pull, that's fine. But if you can't clear a dungeon, if you can't clear stage 10 heavy metal, for example, without a Nat 4 that you have to pull, then I think that that's a problem. You know what I mean? And this is kind of what this feels like for the most part. There will be some people who are like late enough game. I could probably come in here with the gear and units that I have and make a triple S team that doesn't have Tree Gunslinger on it. But I'm playing very actively, and I've spent quite a bit of money, and I have several Nat 5s, and I've got a lot more at my disposal than the average player is going to have. And I think that you should be able to come in here as a free-to-play player. Maybe not on day 4, but on the progression arc. When the missions start sending you in here, I think you should roughly be in a place to be able to feasibly find success, right? You shouldn't go in triple S immediately, but it's at a certain point the missions kind of start guiding you in there. And I think sometime around that point, the game should just give you the Tree Gunslinger. If he's going to be that necessary for the content reasonably, then I think just give him to everybody. Make a permanent fusion system and have him be one of the Nat 4s in it, or have him be as a reward for a mission. You know what I mean? Check strategy info on Radiator and then get him. And then now you can come in here and start trying to build a team around him, because I just don't know that a lot of people are having any success in here without him. It would be very interesting for me to hear how many of you are finding success in the water bosses in here without Tree Gunslinger. But like, as far as like a biggest problem in the game for me right now, that's it. And that's really not that big of a deal. I think that's easily solvable. And it's a testament to like the rest of the game, I would say. A couple of other notes I have. I feel like summons come in a little bit slow after the newness of the game wears off. It feels very much like old school Summoner's War in that regard. Excuse me. Where like, so getting Mystic Scrolls. Are they called Mystic Scrolls in Summoner's War? Getting Scrolls in Summoner's War back in the day, like 2015, 2016, was brutal, man. It was rough. There were none. It was basically get enough gems to buy a premium pack, because you just weren't getting them from anywhere unless you were spending money. So I think we could add, you know, a lot of games do a thing where they'll drop randomly from dungeons sometimes. You could do that and limit it. I think Raid does that, and they limit it to like 5 a month. We could have a different kind of a shop, maybe, where you don't have to spend gems on them, where they could pop up occasionally. We could maybe more of them in your dailies. I don't know. I just feel like summons are a little low. I feel like the power beans, Nat 5 and Nat 4 beans, are Nat 4 especially slow, which I guess the logic behind that might be, well, you're summoning more Nat 4s, so theoretically you should be able to get your skill ups, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Nat 4 beans could be a little bit more accessible. And I don't know that I like that this was the answer. There was a lot of suggestions in the Discord about making 4-star beans more accessible, and they were like, yeah, okay, we'll get on that. And then this is the one that I've seen that's like available now. So I don't love that. I would rather see them at the game and not something someone has to buy. And these could drop a little, or like, I don't know, be a little more frequent, it feels like. But again, maybe that's just me. I'm doing a lot more summoning, I guess, than the average person. So maybe I have a lot more Nat 5s and I have a lot more use for them. But I've probably bought 15 of them, and I still have 0. So they go quick, man. They go quick. But again, a lot of this stuff is just like, I don't even know if it's necessarily valid. You know what I mean? That's kind of part of these games, is that type of resource management and stuff being kind of scarce. So like, it's a little early to tell, perhaps. But they do feel a little bit, as someone who spends money, they feel a little scarce to me. So I can't imagine how scarce they feel if you're not spending money. But for the most part, again, I really like just about everything in the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I still have a lot of problems to solve, and some of that's for content and some of that's for me. There's a whole chunk of content that I've still yet to even really get into. I've got all the other Abyss bosses. I've got some speed teams to hammer out. I got plenty to do. So I can see a lot of long-term potential here. We will have to wait and see. You know what I mean? This is not the first game that I've seen long-term potential in that has not really realized it. Has not really realized the long-term potential. So we will have to see how that goes. But I, for now, am having a blast with it, and I am pretty optimistic about the future. I like. It's been cool working with the developers. They talk a little bit about their vision, and their priorities seem to be in a pretty good place. They're very concerned with the game being free to play friendly. They're very concerned with not giving the content creators too much so that it like unevens the playing field. So that they're concerned with a lot of the right things, in my opinion. So we'll just have to wait and see. You know, there's always that like 4 to 6 month period of like your game's been launched, you've started making some money. Are you going to be able to stick with your vision, or are you going to lose your mind and start dropping Nat 5 banners every 2 weeks? You know what I mean? So we will just have to wait and see, but I am optimistic. I hope that this is a game I could see myself playing pretty long term if they continue down the path that they seem to be on right now. So I guess I'll pass it off to you guys. What do you think about it? Is it something that you think you could play long term? Is it something you're just enjoying for a few weeks and then you plan on moving on, or going back to Summer's War, or back to whatever game is you came from? What do you think about the game? Do you have any thoughts on the Tree Gunslinger thing? Again, if you're running any Triple S teams that don't have him in it, I would be very interested to hear about it. One, because I just would like to know that it can be done on a broader scale without him. And two, it might be interesting to make some content on some teams that don't have him in them. So that's it. I'm done rambling. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the game as much as I am. And I guess I'll see y'all later.